that much juice? Goddamn right. Don't nobody fuck with me. Cause you already fucked up, man. To everybody on the set, can I get your attention, please? Everybody on the set, this is straight orange juice.
Yeah, but you know, Pac had that thing where he was sort of a troubled soul in a sense.
Omar Epps finally reveals the darkest secrets behind Juice. And what he says will change how you see that movie. And Tupac forever.
I saw him that night, actually. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him literally half hour before he was shot. So that was...
But long before Tupac was gunned down in Vegas, something was already breaking behind the scenes. The cast of Juice saw it first. Arguments, aggression, secrets, and one prank that almost ended the friendship between Tupac and Omar Epps for good.
I was mad at Pac for that, though. I was super mad. Like, yo, son, you really gonna do that?
Yeah, but you always get mad. You ain't gotta, you gotta work on that. You got anger issues, man.
I don't have anger. If somebody take their nuts out next to your mouth while you sleep, like that.
They were supposed to be just acting, but the tension was real, the danger was real, and the aftermath? It followed everyone involved for decades. Let's find out what really happened. Before the world ever saw Juice, there was already a storm building behind the scenes. And for those on set, especially Omar Epps, that storm had a name: Tupac Shakur. Fresh off a background appearance with Digital Underground, Tupac landed his first major film role as Bishop. Director Ernest Dickerson was immediately struck by his energy. He later said, "We found out later that Tupac trained as an actor in high school. All of the bravado, the anger came from pain, and that's what he put into the character." Tupac wasn't just acting, he became Bishop.
Yo, Bishop! What you want?
But that rawness came at a cost. Jermaine Hopkins, who played Steel, once made the mistake of joking that Tupac was getting fired. What was meant to be funny ended in a fight. That wasn't unusual. Dickerson admitted, "There were a couple times that he got into trouble." Trouble found Tupac again when he flirted with a girl near the set, not knowing her boyfriend had just come home from Rikers Island. When the man showed up, big and furious, Tupac didn't back down. According to Dickerson, he was like, "F him." The crew had to get him out fast, afraid it might turn physical. That wasn't the only encounter that spiraled. Another time, Tupac was caught talking to a woman down the block, except the woman was actually a trans woman, featured in the LGBTQ documentary Paris is Burning. Tupac had no idea. She stopped him before things went further. "Honey, you don't want my phone number. I'm telling you, you don't know what's going on here," she warned. Dickerson said Tupac laughed when he found out. He knew the joke was on him, and he could laugh at himself. It was a cute moment. But not every prank ended with a laugh. According to Omar Epps, Tupac once crossed a serious line.
I was mad at Pac for that, though. I was super mad. Like, yo, son, you really gonna do that?
Yeah, but
like,
you always get mad. You ain't gotta, you gotta work on that. You got anger issues, man.
I don't have anger. If somebody take their nuts out next to your mouth while you sleep, like that.
That moment highlighted something bigger. Tupac's intensity, both in humor and in drama, wasn't always easy to handle. That's something Omar Epps felt more than most. While the two had good chemistry on camera, off camera was different. Tupac's method acting and unpredictable behavior clashed with Omar's more grounded approach. The tension between Bishop and Q, a lot of it was real. According to sources, Tupac's aggressive acting style and real-life persona clashed with Epps's more laid-back demeanor. At times, their scenes bled into real conflict, and when emotions ran high, no one could tell where the acting stopped. But even with all the behind-the-scenes drama, Omar never stopped seeing the greatness in Tupac.
They just have, and he was one of those people. He just knew this dude's going somewhere. You know, I don't know where, but it's gonna be at the top of some mountain.
He also had demons. And as Epps would later say, Pac was sort of a troubled soul. He was carrying something. That something followed him for years, but in 1992, it was already showing on the set of Juice. And for Omar Epps, the memories never left.
Vegas, yeah, I saw him that night, actually. So,
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw him literally half hour before he was shot.
Juice made Tupac a star. But the real story of what happened behind that film, it's only just starting to come out. Long before it ever hit theaters, Juice was already under fire. Not for the script, not for the cast, but for the ads. In late 1991, Paramount Pictures launched the promotional campaign for the film. They wanted it to stand out. And it did, for all the wrong reasons. The first posters featured the four leads: Tupac, Omar Epps, Jermaine Hopkins, and Khalil Kane. In a thick blue haze, the title, Juice, splashed across the center in red. What seemed like an ordinary marketing choice set off alarm bells, because in Los Angeles, blue and red weren't just colors, they were symbols, Crips and Bloods, street war codes. One early version of the poster even showed a character holding a gun. Paramount quickly pulled it, but not before copies ended up on TV and in newspapers like The Hollywood Reporter. The message was clear. Juice was violent, and Paramount knew it. Critics immediately took aim. Gang counselors, parent groups, and even theater owners warned the film could spark real violence. Mike Salgado of Parents Against a Gang Environment said, "The trailers seemed to show it as a gang movie, and it wasn't just the visuals. It was the question the campaign posed. How far will you go to get it? That it was power. Or, in the film's language, juice." Community activists didn't like the implication. To them, it felt like the studio was daring young viewers to chase power through violence. And many worried the film would follow the same path as Boys and the Hood and New Jack City, both of which had seen outbreaks of violence during opening weekends. But behind closed doors, even Paramount was nervous. They knew the movie had potential to stir trouble. The studio made extra prints so theaters could schedule more showings and reduce overcrowding. A lesson they learned the hard way after the Westwood riot during New Jack City. Still, things got tense. Some theaters refused to carry the film entirely. In LA, Juice wasn't booked at high-traffic areas like Universal City or Westwood. The owners weren't taking chances. Kenneth Lombard, who managed the only Black-owned first-run theater in the country, the Baldwin Theater, said it plainly. Hollywood and theater operators are going through a learning curve on how to play these movies. But the panic didn't stay in the press. It exploded in real life, and opening night proved it. Across the U.S., multiple theaters descended into chaos. In East Lansing, Michigan, a fight broke out in the lobby. Gunshots rang out. 9 bullets fired. A 17-year-old boy was hit in the leg. When police arrived, they found 3 guns at the scene. In Pennsylvania, things turned tragic. Marcus Harrington, just 18, was shot in the neck outside a theater showing the movie. The bullet paralyzed him for life. In Chicago, it was worse. A 16-year-old girl named Tidsa Cherry was gunned down outside another Juice screening. Police said it was a gang-related shooting. A 14-year-old boy was arrested for her murder. Despite added security, outbreaks of gunfire, knifings, and fights were reported in Boston, New York, Anchorage, Omaha, Lansing, Mishkimwash, and North Little Rock, Ark. In Boston, one man was arrested for robbery in a theater. His friends stormed in and opened fire, shooting into the ceiling. In New York, a 16-year-old stabbed another teen during a fight at a screening. At this point, Juice wasn't just a movie. It was being blamed as a catalyst. But Paramount stood its ground. They insisted the trailers were representative of the whole story, and that the film was a statement against violence, not for it. And critics who actually watched the movie agreed. Juice wasn't glamorizing crime. It was showing the consequences of peer pressure, betrayal, and the hunger for power. Still, that didn't stop the narrative. The media focused on the shootings. The public focused on the ads. And the film itself? It got lost in the controversy. Some argued it was unfair. Other films, including action flicks with white leads, often had more violence in their trailers, but drew no such backlash. As one executive put it, ads for cuffs show Christian Slater with a pistol, but it's a white face with a smile. Juice, on the other hand, had Tupac Shakur, already seen by many as dangerous. To this day, some theater chains avoid screening films they think might attract the wrong crowd. And that stigma? Juice helped cement it, whether it deserved it or not. The violence surrounding its release wasn't planned. But for the cast, especially Omar Epps, it added weight to what was already a chaotic experience. The movie had only been out for 24 hours, but for many across the country, it had already gone too far. Of all the stories that came out of the Juice set, there's one that still gets whispered. One that wasn't in the script, but played out right there on the streets of Harlem. And it all started when Tupac saw a pretty girl across the street. He didn't know the cameras weren't rolling. He didn't know the crew was watching. He just saw someone who caught his eye. And he went over to talk. What Tupac didn't realize was that the woman wasn't a woman at all. At least not in the way he assumed. Director Ernest Dickerson watched it unfold from a distance. The rest of the crew noticed too. They didn't say anything at first, just observed as Tupac flirted, charmed, smiled. He asked for her number. She wouldn't give it. That's when she stopped him cold. "Honey, you don't want my phone number," she told him. "I'm telling you, you don't know what's going on here." That woman, or rather, that trans woman, wasn't just anybody. She had appeared in Paris is Burning, the groundbreaking 1990 documentary that exposed the underground drag ball scene of New York. She was a fixture in the LGBTQ ballroom world, a world Tupac didn't know he'd stepped into. Dickerson recalled the moment clearly. He turned to his assistant director and said, "I don't think he knows." The assistant nodded. "I don't think so either." That's when they sent someone to break the news to Tupac. And what did he do when he found out? He laughed. For all the anger and tension Tupac was known for, that day, he didn't flip. He didn't make a scene. He took it in stride. Dickerson described it as a cute moment. He knew the joke was on him, and he could laugh at himself.
Now, little do y'all know, it's all a bluff. Because
We're just out here having
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, other black one. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I still got 4 left over.
But the story didn't end there. Over the years, that incident took on a life of its own. In hip-hop circles, where masculinity was, and still is, tightly policed, rumors began to circulate. Some took that harmless moment and stretched it into full-blown gay allegations. Claims that Tupac had secretly hooked up with a trans woman. Claims that he was down low, that the Bishop character wasn't a role, it was projection. None of that was ever proven. No credible sources ever confirmed it. And those closest to Tupac, including Dickerson, always emphasized that it was just a lighthearted misunderstanding. But in an industry where perception is everything, even one misunderstood moment can turn into a headline. Back then, it stayed quiet. No one leaked it. The internet wasn't what it is now. But as Tupac's legend grew, so did the appetite for controversy. And that story, the one about Tupac unknowingly flirting with a trans woman on the set of Juice, became part of the lore. And for people like Omar Epps, who were there, who watched all of this unfold in real time, the incident wasn't about shame. It was about seeing the human side of Tupac. The side that could admit when he was wrong. The side that could laugh at himself even when the joke hit hard. Still, it came at a time when hip-hop wasn't ready for that kind of vulnerability. In the early 90s, being seen talking to a trans woman, even by accident, could damage reputations. And that's exactly why this story stayed buried for so long. But decades later, with the rise of LGBTQ visibility and retrospectives on Tupac's life, the story resurfaced. Not as a scandal, but as a reminder that Tupac was complex, that he was open, that he didn't live by everyone else's rules. To some, the encounter humanized him. To others, it was twisted into gossip. But the facts are simple. He didn't know. He was respectful. And when the truth came out, he laughed. In a world that was constantly trying to box him in, gangster, poet, criminal, hero, that one moment showed another side. A man who could be caught off guard and still keep his dignity. For Omar Epps and the crew, that's the Tupac they remember. Not the headlines, not the rumors, but the real human being who, for a moment, let his guard down. And that, ironically, may be one of the realest things that happened on that set. By the time the cameras stopped rolling, the cast and crew of Juice were exhausted. The fights, the tension, the emotional weight, it had all taken a toll. But there was still one battle left to fight, the ending. And to this day, Ernest Dickerson regrets how it turned out. In the original version of Juice, the film wasn't supposed to end the way it did, with Bishop hanging from the ledge, slipping through Q's fingers and falling to his death.
What you doing, man? Come on, pull up, B. Don't let go. I ain't going to jail. Come on, B, man. Don't punk out on me now. Come on, man.
But that's not the ending audiences saw. That's not the version that hit theaters. Why? Because the studio stepped in. Dickerson revealed that the ending ultimately had to be changed due to poor focus group test results, with the audience being dissatisfied that Bishop, the villain in the film, was able to control his own destiny. Nearly 25 years later, that thought seems strange, given the cult-like fan base the character has garnered. Even if the writers had chosen to disregard the test results, they were given what was tantamount to an ultimatum when they were told by the film's producers that if they didn't change the ending, the film's executives may not support the movie in the way they wanted it to be supported. Ultimately, Dickerson and Brown relented, and the film, with the ending audiences know, was released to theaters. But Tupac? He had his own ideas. As someone who became Bishop for months, Tupac didn't just act, he internalized. He believed Bishop wasn't evil. He was broken, pushed to the edge by circumstances no teenager should have to endure. There were moments when Tupac pushed back on how the character was written. He didn't want Bishop to be a cartoon villain. He wanted the audience to understand the pain beneath the violence, the trauma behind the cold stare. But in the final edit, much of that was stripped away.
Come on, Q, don't let me go. I got you, Bishop, man. Come on, hold on. Q, don't let me go. Hold on, man.
Bishop's death became the exclamation point, the moral of the story. And just like that, he was gone. For Dickerson, and some members of the cast, it felt like a missed opportunity. A chance to say something deeper, lost in the studio's need for structure. Omar Epps hasn't spoken much about the ending itself, but his performance in those final scenes said it all. The fear, the confusion. The moment Kyuju realizes that even though he survived, nothing would ever be the same. It was Tupac's moment too. The final shot of Bishop, that chilling, broken glare before he falls, has become one of the most iconic in urban cinema history. But behind that moment was a mountain of creative conflict. And it wasn't just about storylines. Tupac was already becoming bigger than the movie. During filming, he was writing Tupacalypse Now. He was dreaming beyond the screen, thinking about activism, fame, music, art. He wasn't just a performer, he was a force, and that made him hard to control. Dickerson respected that, but the studio didn't know what to do with it. Tupac had opinions on everything. The camera angles, the music, the message. To some, that was disruptive. To others, it was genius. What he was carrying, pain, vision, fire, it shaped Bishop. It shaped Juice. And it shaped the version of the film we never got to see. In another timeline, Bishop lived. Maybe he got arrested. Maybe he walked away. Maybe the story ended without bullets or death. But in this world, the studio chose clarity over chaos. And in doing so, they closed the chapter. Still, decades later, Dickerson admits the alternate ending haunts him. Because maybe that's the point of Juice. It wasn't about resolution. It was about the tension, the decisions, the line between right and wrong, and how thin it really is. And in that sense, Maybe Tupac was right all along. In the years since Juice hit theaters, the headlines have faded. The controversy, the rumors, the violence, all of it got buried under decades of hip-hop evolution and Hollywood revisionism. But for Omar Epps, the memories never left. He still remembers the tension on set, the laughs, the pranks, the fights. He remembers Tupac before the world knew him. Before the platinum albums, before Death Row, before Vegas. To this day, Juice stands as more than just a film. It was a snapshot of young black men navigating power, pressure, and survival in a system that never gave them room to breathe. And for Epps, that message hasn't aged. It's only grown sharper. Critics once accused the film of glorifying violence, but those who understood it saw something different. They saw four boys on the edge, trying to define themselves in a world already writing their ending. And Bishop, played by Tupac, became the warning and the mirror. A character so raw, so magnetic that it blurred the line between fiction and prophecy. When people look back on Juice, they see a breakout performance, a film that launched careers. But behind the scenes, it was a war zone, one that shaped everyone who survived it. Omar Epps finally revealed the truth. The jokes, the fights, the breakdowns, not to shame anyone, but to show just how real it got. Because Juice wasn't just a movie, it was a warning. And for those who lived through it, on and off camera, it left scars that never fully healed. But it also left a legacy, one that still hits different. Anyway, that's it for this video, folks. Bye.